There you see the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Congressman Michael McCaul, who led his own delegation to Kyiv just one day after President Biden's visit this week. Congressman McCaul joins us now. Good to see you. We've all been in Ukraine this week. You met with President Zelensky. You said in Ukraine while you were there that you're seeing increasing momentum towards getting long-range missiles and F-16. You heard what President Biden said. You heard what Jake Sullivan said. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I was at the Munich Security Conference, met with a lot of the high-ranking military officials, including our Supreme Allied Commander. They're all in favor of us putting not only F-16s in, but longer-range artillery to take out the Iranian drones in Crimea. In fact, the word I kept hearing was, we need to put everything we have into there. I know the administration says as long as it takes. I think with the right weapons, it shouldn't take so long. And quite frankly, Martha, this whole thing is taking too long, and it really didn't have to happen this way.
But you heard Jake Sullivan say, look, our military is looking at the ground. What they need right now is tanks. What they need is infantry. Why do you think F-16s would make a difference?
Because it can travel the entire country with great speed. It can knock out targets. It can't protect the country.
Also could get shot down. There are a lot of air defenses, especially over on the border.
It could. And, you know, but the fact is, if we don't give them everything, if they don't get the momentum right now, with the Russian offensive coming into country right now, they have a window of time with the counteroffensive. That's why it's important when I talk to these top military officers, give them everything that you can now so they can win this thing. When we give them what they can really use and ask for, they win. When we slow walk and slow pace this thing, it drags it out. And that's precisely what Putin wants.
What could you do at this point as chair, at this point legislatively? Is there really anything you could do?
Yeah, well, we can certainly write into our appropriations bills prioritizing weapon systems. We intend to do that. But in addition, Martha, this was a bipartisan delegation to Munich. My delegation in Ukraine all agreed with Zelensky that the ATACMS and the F-16s were appropriate right now. I talked to General Milley last night. I don't think it's off the table. I think with enough pressure from Congress on both sides of the aisle, we can get into Ukraine what they really need to win this fight. Otherwise, what are we doing in Ukraine?
And even if they don't want them now, do you think they should start training?
For God's sakes. I mean, it takes 3 to 6 months to train. We need to do this now. And I know the argument is made, well, we need to look at the budget. The fact is, you heard with the Abrams tanks, they won't go in for another year. I've met with the Ukrainians being trained by the Poles on the Leopard tanks, which will go in 2 weeks as this offensive takes place. 2 weeks. That's going to be a bit of a game changer as well. And I hope we can change the course and direction that the administration has with respect to the military strategy.
I want to talk about China. What do you know about China possibly providing lethal aid to Russia, and how do you think the U.S. should respond to it?
Well, Chairman Xi and Putin they have this unholy alliance since the Beijing Olympics. He called Xi called Putin his best friend several years ago. We do know that we have intelligence that's been reported that they are contemplating sending 100 drones into Russia. We also know they're buying all their energy from them economically.
You say it's been reported. Do you know that's what they're looking at, is sending in drones?
And other lethal weapons.
Like what?
I can't get into that. The fact is, the fact that they're going to meet next week, Chairman Xi and Putin, to discuss this unholy alliance that they have to put weapons into Ukraine, to me is very disturbing because while it may be Ukraine today, it's going to be Taiwan tomorrow. That's why this is so important.
You know, a big deal this week has been that President Biden was in Ukraine. He wasn't in East Palestine, where that train derailed with those toxic chemicals. Republican Josh Hawley said this week that the Republican Party can be the party of Ukraine and globalists or the party of East Palestine and working Americans, not both. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a false choice. I think the president should have gone to Palestine when we had this major chemical spill. But it doesn't mean we disregard what's happening, this struggle for the global balance of power that we're facing right now. We haven't seen anything like this since my father's generation, World War II. Largest invasion in Europe, the biggest threat to the Pacific since World War II. We can't put our head in the sand and ignore this. Otherwise, the Russians will be on the Polish border and Chairman Xi will invade Taiwan. I think we can do both. We're a great nation.
An ABC Washington Post poll earlier this month found that 50% of Republicans believe the U.S. is doing too much to support Ukraine. We know you care very much about that. That's up from 18% last April. So why is the support slipping, and how will you approach that, and what can you do about that?
I think because it's taking too long. We're not giving them the weapon systems they need. That when we talk to President Zelensky, when I talk to our top military commanders, say that they need in theater right now. Let's put that in.
The president, by the way, says that military advisors tell him they don't need those.
When the Supreme Allied Commander speaks, I listen. And just when they unlock the Leopard tanks with Germany, putting in some Abrams tanks, we can do the same thing with all these other aircraft with F-16s, ATACMS.
But are you worried about the aid? Are you worried about the aid in this coming year? You can see there's some Ukraine fatigue. Clearly, one of the reasons President Biden went over there was to get support.
Of course. I mean, I am. I still think the majority in the Congress support this. They also want to know, they want accountability to the taxpayer. I did a first-hand, look at this in theater in Ukraine and in Poland about the humanitarian assistance. We have 3 IG audits right now. We have an audit by Deloitte. We also have in-use monitoring on the weapons and barcoding systems. They want to know that their money's being spent wisely. And I think once they know that, they will stand. What would Reagan do? I would ask my fellow colleagues, right? What would he do? He brought down the Soviet Union. I think he would stand for freedom and democracy.
I want to ask you one final question here, and back to Congress, about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. This week, she repeatedly called for a national divorce to separate the country by red and blue states. This is what she tweeted. We need a national divorce. We need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this, from the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America Last policies. We are done. When I asked you last month about her serving on the Homeland Security Committee, you said you think she has matured and is trying to become a team player. Do you still think that when you hear something like that?
I don't speak for her. The great thing about this country is we can have political dialogue, discourse. We are a democracy. We have differences of opinions. I will say divisive rhetoric, I think, polarizes this nation, and I think it hurts this nation. I think what we need today is a voice that can unify the nation on things that really matter, like the economy, like the border, like, the largest invasion in Europe since World War II, and a threat to the Pacific. We should all be standing as Americans. I think when I go out across the country, that's what people want to hear.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us, Congressman. Appreciate it always.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.